brand new tonight at 8. Now, Rob Rinder's in for Jeremy Vine.
Hey, Bobby there!
Now today, should we ban NHS dentists from selling Botox? Do we need compulsory ID cards for everyone to tackle the migrant crisis? And what do you make of this? This is the new Union Jack. Oh, it's upside down. Well, you might not like it upside down. I knew I'd do that. It's for this year's Olympics. What do you think? Get in touch with me. Rob Rinder here on Jeremy Vine.
Hey, Bobby there!
Good morning. Well, that might have been upside down, but I'm the right way up. Welcome to the show. It's Wednesday, the 3rd of April. And joining me today, we have Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, who is full of I'm delighted to be alongside you. I'm just getting my heart back ready. And Times Radio host Daryl Morris, so we've got Carol and Daryl. Here's what's on the show today. First, should NHS dentists be banned from selling Botox? Practices across the country offer aesthetic treatment, but it comes amid a worsening dental crisis with people struggling to get appointments to get their teeth checked. We want your thoughts about that. Now, after that, do we need ID cards to tackle the migrant crisis? Former Home Secretary David Blunkett has suggested it's a way to get a grip on the number of people coming here on small boats. He thinks that everyone needs compulsory identity documents so we can account for who has a legal right to be here and work here. Well, do you agree with him? And we'd love your calls on the new channel.
Yeah.
Please let me hold it up the right way. Here it is. Yeah, this is the right way up. I'll feature. It'll feature on some of the TV merchandise at the Summer Olympics, and it's offering a lot of criticism, to say the least. It displaced our national symbol of unity. Well, do you agree? Or do you actually quite like?
Excuse me, Bobby.
Then it's the paper than everything else, but our very own Alexis Conran is also going to be joining us to tell us about his new air fryer cookery show with lots of helpful tips and recipes. And at 11:15, Storm will be here with Lynn May and Andy West. And if you want to get in touch this morning, you can call us. You know the number. It's 007 862 2222. That's 007 862 2222. Calls from landlines may cost up to 16p per minute plus any call setup fee. And calls from mobiles may cost considerably more. Now, you can also send us a message, head to Facebook or Twitter, also known as X, and search for Jeremy Vine on 5. We're also on YouTube, Jeremy Vine on 5. Now, two really interesting stories that have grabbed me this morning. The first, the pothole capital of Britain has been revealed. What an incredible honour that must be. Who needs an Oscar? Now, do you want to know where it is? Have you guessed it yet? I'm sorry, people. If you're in Essex, that's where it is. It's in Southend. Now, apparently, 1 in 4 of the city's B and C roads, so these are roads people use every day, need resurfacing, and 15% of its A roads. Derbyshire is next worst on the list, then Hackney and East London, Shropshire and Liverpool are also named. Carol, I mean, you know, I look at this.
Look, here's the surprise. It's only one piece. Hang on, hold it. It's only one piece, darling.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's none with your dinner. Okay?
You're looking for not in the military.
The only bit, don't bang it all in at once.
We have to call you sir because I just want to read this out. You have been made Deputy Colonel Commandant in the Royal Corps on Music.
Musicians, yeah.
Music, what does that mean?
Well, all of our wonderful bands, thank you very much. Yeah, the King has approved and appointed me as a Deputy Colonel Commandant of the Royal Corps of Armed Musicians. I couldn't be more proud. What that means is that I get to support our armed forces and our wonderful bands and music making across all of the various branches of the army. And yeah, I think one of the things, especially at the moment, as we're a nation divided, that we can get behind our armed services who don't champion themselves. They get on quietly about their business, prepared to risk their lives to keep us free. And I think, you know, we don't hear about them enough. So I can be part of that conversation. Also about social mobility, the amount of brilliant music making from people across the country, the North East, Wales, Scotland, all the regions who go into the army, learn a musical instrument, and they are the best in the world at what they do. We only hear from them at our great national events with those pomp and circumstance. We sit back, and whoever we are, whatever background we're from, whatever community we go, isn't that great? And I think, you know, as we're about to turn to potholes and Britain in decline, the more we can look at the things, the institutions where communities and individuals play a part in I know. Well, I'm running the marathon to start for the
Yes, yes.
the Army Benevolence Fund in a couple of weeks' time. So hopefully I'll be alive to tell the tale.
Well,
Yeah, that. Now, that's an example of Britain at its best. But Britain at its worst, it seems to me, is where it can't find the money to fix its roads.
Do you know, and you just said the worst place to start in. Well, you know, I've come under Richmond Council, and my road has 150 potholes.
That's nice.
And you know,
Yeah.
the amount
Yeah, I
of
bet
money
it
that
was.
I pay in council tax, and everyone there
It's a little tiny
paying council tax
bit
now, and you pay for stuff like potholes. And you know, we rang the council, and they came out with a truck full of tar. And do you know what they did? They filled in about a quarter of them because the potholes had to be 2 millimetres before they filled in, so they had the hot tar. They filled in the 2 millimetre ones, but they left the 1.5 ones. I mean, what kind of mentality is that? Stupidity. But what, you know, they're dangerous, these potholes. They're damaging for cars. They're damaging for people. And I just read here, it says drivers could be fined $2.5 grand if police judge an attempt to dodge a pothole is driving without due care and attention. I mean, the chicken is.
I mean, Darryl, the thing is, it seems to me, right, Britain's pothole crisis, right, is so bad that drivers reported 1 million potholes on the nation's roads. You know, you go to sort of countries where things are doing well, and really the barometer of how things are, the health, if you like, is what the infrastructure is like. Look around. Isn't this an example, yet again, of how the nation is failing and how people see it not working?
Yeah, and we talk a lot about people sort of not having civic pride these days and not feeling sort of compelled to want to work together and look after the country and, you know, sort of, can you imagine? I mean, can you blame them when it's falling to pieces? I'm not sure why we're surprised, though, about this. We've seen a decade of austerity now, which has led to hundreds of millions in cost cutting for councils. Councils are right up against the wall.
Decades of councils wasting money and frittering it away on nonsense as well.
Such as what does Southend-on-Sea do that it shouldn't do in favour of...
Well, I've got no idea what Steph on the but I do read all the stuff about councils who are making bad investments, who are overpaying their executives massive six-figure salaries, amazing payoffs when they fire them for not doing their job properly. So a lot of money is frittered away.
Listen, I know quite a lot of people who work in local government. I know a lot of people who work in local government, and they are in pieces. I mean, they are absolutely hammered by these...
Half of them work from home. What are we talking about? They're not in the phone from the living room.
Well, they might be in pieces. They might be underpaid for what they do. Now, the chief executive sometimes takes home hundreds of thousands of pounds in salary. Just to be clear, the sum needed to fix the backlog of local road repairs across the UK has reached a record 16.3 billion, by just over 15% from 14 billion a year ago. Well, there are some people who could actually afford that and not even notice that they lost the money. Because meanwhile, we can't afford to fix our roads. There are now apparently more billionaires in the world than ever. Forbes has released its list of wealthiest people, and there were around 2,700 billionaires. At the top is the Louis Vuitton boss, Bernard Arnault, who's worth an estimated £185 billion. And Taylor Swift has entered the list for the first time. When it comes to the top 10 richest people on the planet, 8 listed were from the US, including the likes of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg. Now, it's an interesting thing, right? These people could pretty much solve most of our national problems. They're individuals that have GDP greater than a number of nations across the planet. Now, Darryl, you think about this. Is there anything that sort of troubles you about that level of disparity of work? Why do you need all of that money?
Yeah, listen, I'm one of the people who doesn't sort of mind people getting rich as long as they pay their fair share and they pay their tax. And I think this speaks to a major problem that we've got with Western economies, which is that, you know, we sort of built these economies largely on this sort of principle of capitalism, where you support industry, you give industry the freedom to create business, that creates jobs, money filters down the system. And the reality with modern business is that it isn't doing that. Tech, for example, is making that impossible. Either you would start a taxi firm, for example, you would employ loads of people, you'd have, you know, that money would sort of filter down the system. Now you have things like Uber, who concentrate wealth, and they make, and you know, that, and actually, you know, with automation is another issue as well. We're not seeing that money filter through the system. What's happening is people like this are getting richer and richer and richer.
What should they do? Give it away? I mean,
ready?
I don't mind people getting rich. And I really feel this country's got a problem with rich people, and that they're very resentful of it. In America, people champion you doing very well. All of these 2,781 billionaires will they run industries. They're creating jobs. They're creating wealth for other people.
Well, they're not. That's the
Yes,
problem.
but they are.
Well, they're actually.
What do you think they're running their companies on their own?
No, but they're literally not. I mean, we see this time and time and time
Well,
again.
so all the people that work for Bezos, that work for Louis Vuitton, the guy in charge of that, they're not creating jobs.
It's about the individual and all about the companies. I mean, one of the questions, of course, is the extent to which they pay a great deal of tax, but do they pay their fair share, and how much of that tax is offshore, out of the reach of all of us?
That is true, and there's laws in place to deal with that, and hopefully they're doing it. But, we can't resent people who do well. It's funny, because, a lot of the rich people in this country help finance the poorest in the
Can I
country.
the next point?
Very quickly.
I don't disagree with that. The principle is fine. The reality is it isn't working like that.
But the reality is that those rich people and privileged people, with all of their billions, of course, have access to healthcare and all of those things, including, by the way, leaders of councils that are on sufficient amounts of money to bypass the NHS and other things when they need to get their teeth sorted. And after the break, we're going to be talking about the dentistry crisis and asking whether the NHS dentists should be banned from selling Botox. Yes, that is really happening. Don't look at me, I can move my forehead. And because they're cross, they are struggling to get an appointment to get their teeth checked. That's the communities across the country that cannot get an appointment. We'd love to know what you think. Give us a call now with your thoughts. It's 027 862 2222. That's the number you need to get in touch with us. Please get in touch with us after the break. Now, which artist is reworking a 2000s hit to try and get back into the chart? Is it A, Britney Spears, B, Jamelia, or is it C, Daniel Bedingfield? Find out after the break.
We will.
Now, before the break, we asked which artist is reworking a 2000s hit to try and get back into the chart. The answer is Daniel. Get back into the chart.
Daniel what?
Chart. The answer is Daniel Bedingfield. Chart.
Daniel
The answer is
Bedingfield.
Daniel Bedingfield. What was this song? Either of you?
Got to get through this.
Oh, I've got to get through this. Well, we've got to get through this. We're live on Channel 5 with Carol Malone and Darryl Morris. Later, do we need to give everyone an ID card to help tackle the migrant crisis? Would you have one with all your personal information on it, or do you think it's a bit like Big Brother? But now, I want your calls on this. Should NHS dentists be banned from selling Botox? The number is 027 862 2222. Tell us what you think. Now, according to an investigation by the Daily Mail, practices across the country are selling aesthetic treatments, including lip fillers and Botox. It comes amid a worsening dental crisis with people struggling to get appointments to get their teeth checked. The number of NHS dentists working in England has dropped to the lowest level in almost a decade. And we know people have struggled to register and even resorted to DIY treatments at home. So we'd love to know what you think about them offering Botox. Carol, what do you think? I'm not looking at directly at you. I'm not going to ask if you've had Botox at a dentist.
I have in the past. I've had it for ages, and there'll be people watching now say, my God, she needs it, and I'm going to get it probably quite soon. However, I think when you have people queuing around the block at 4 a.m. waiting because they've got toothache or they need a tooth out, and the dentist, instead of using their time to do Botox, it's wrong. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't do it at all, because I think dentists of all people understand the muscles in your face.
Yeah.
And all the
But
rest.
let's have a look. It's really interesting you brought it up. Demand for NHS dentistry in February 2024 is what we can see on our